there's many of us that will live with cancer and have to coexist with this disease. And the idea that we can give a voice and now faces to the issues behind living with metastatic breast cancer is the goal of advocacy and action. Does the color pink really reflect the color of our lives when we're dealing with metastatic disease?
No, it doesn't. No question.
Doesn't reflect much.
Well,
No question.
cancer isn't a color, and we hear that all the time.
That's right.
And metastatic breast cancer surely isn't pretty. So
Yeah.
pink, it's not feminine, it's not pretty, and we hear over and over, cancer itself is not a color, but certainly metastatic breast cancer. I certainly believe that, Musa has more to add, and I'm sure Maria and Shirley have a lot to say about pink.
You know why the pink ribbon doesn't sit well with those of us who are either living with the disease or advocating for those living with the disease really has a great deal to do with sort of the history of breast cancer advocacy over the years, that we have felt excluded, that we have felt like with the need to celebrate survivorship, that a price has been paid in terms of not allowing these voices to be a part of the dialogue about breast cancer. And I think the pushback on the pink is all really about that. And now that, for years I felt like a voice crying in the wilderness, but now that women with metastatic disease are forming their own organizations and speaking up, and their voices are being heard, I think the dialogue is changing. So there may be a time when pink feels right to us again, but we're not there yet, in my point.
And I think another problem with pink is cause-based marketing. It's how this pink color even is used. I mean, it's really egregious, I think. And I'm not quite sure the purpose, other than that it probably sells products, and people will buy a particular product if it has the color pink or pink ribbon on it, especially during October. But even then, I mean, a vacuum cleaner, give me a break. So I think it's definitely misused, and definitely, as Musa has pointed out, it is not appropriate, especially for the or the metastatic community, because we really don't have a voice.
When I think of October, I dread October. And it's not even because I'm, it's certainly in part because I am metastatic, but I think of it not as pretty pink, but as a pink haze. It's because when you think of a haze, something is being obscured, it's hidden, and the story that 40,000 people continue to lose their life every year in the United States to metastatic disease is not told clearly. It is not a message that is delivered in the media. For me, October becomes to screen or not to screen. It's not about the important issues. I have to say, having been a former teacher and a principal, I try to see things in a balanced way. Pink brought awareness to breast cancer initially. All the products, even the vacuum cleaner, may contribute to some funds that hopefully get used for research. But the sad story is the research is not about metastatic disease. And that's what's going to stop the dying and stop the receiving a diagnosis 5, 10, 15 years later. So the message has to change, and I guess this is the 30th anniversary of the AIDS movement, and I've done a lot of reading about the AIDS movement, and I think about people who had AIDS 30 years ago were primarily men who were gay. Even though we haven't fully approached this issue with total tolerance in society, 30 years ago it was awful how gay men were treated. Yet they did not accept that they had to continue to die. They refused to let that happen. They marched people in wheelchairs to Congress. They educated themselves about their own disease, and they knew what they wanted to ask for. And today, if we talk about a chronic condition, they're almost there, because I have talked to a doctor who treats AIDS. With good access to care, treatment, a person with HIV AIDS can live 20 to 30 years. That is a real accomplishment. So I guess what I'm saying here is, why, if the majority of people who get breast cancer are women, why do we still allow our mothers, our sisters, our daughters to die and say, well, you must not have gotten your mammogram early enough, or you just didn't get good treatment? I mean, that to me is the issue that we have to change, and we have to say we're not going to take this anymore.
How do we raise awareness amidst all of this? You know, I think it is slowly emerging. The metastatic community has come together. There are now at least a couple specific organizations like Metastatic Breast Cancer Network and Metaviver that are solely composed of those living with metastatic disease or the people that care about them. And that wasn't, you know, that didn't, those are fairly new organizations in the spectrum of the disease. And I think we are becoming more angry that we have been ignored. And I think more facts have to get out there that everybody says yes, but people with metastatic disease are living longer, or survival rates are much better. The actual statistics are still pretty grim.
After my own diagnosis with breast cancer, also in 1991, 20 years ago, I will always remember a statistic quoted of 46,000 women die, or 46,000 people die every year of breast cancer. That was in 1991, and here we are 20 years later, and that number's 40,000. Not nearly enough difference in 2 decades in the research community. And that really strikes me as, you know, our work is to serve women at all stages of diagnosis with specific attention in the metastatic community. That statistic has to change. That's still way too many people. So the medical science, and hopefully the clinicians that are here reporting out their research, are focusing on more of the needs in the metastatic community, so we can get that number to go down much further.
And we have to find a way to help our sisters in the breast cancer community, which is now nearly 3 million women in the United States, to be less afraid.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
The sad fact is that we live in a death-denying culture for the most part, so that's a very steep hill to climb. But I think the more that women and men who are living with the disease are out there and talking about their lives and their experiences, the easier it will be for everyone to accept the reality of that. It's like with everything else. It's the hiding away and the refusing to face the facts that makes it so difficult emotionally.
I want to thank each of you and hope that we walk away. You can't problem solve in this period of time, but what we can do is create tangible arguments, common language, and get us all focused, so when we walk away with this advocacy and action, it's a call to action, whether you're an advocate, whether you're a researcher, whether you come out of industry, or if you're an oncologist that really has to learn how to communicate better with patients facing metastatic disease.